Morning Malacanang Press Corps. Nandito na po si Presidential Spokesperson Salvador Panelo.
Good morning to everyone. First, I'd like to warn the public. I was informed that there is an ongoing scam on my Facebook account. Two swindlers have already received, I think, 200,000 pesos. One, 100,000, two, 200,000. They're using my name and asking, apparently my friends, or those who know me, that I'm asking for donations for the Ompong victims in the Marawi. It's not true, absolutely. Now I'm thinking of removing all those Facebook accounts. But what they're doing is that they activate it and then deactivate it. I already referred this to the NBI as early as, I think, more than a month ago. But there is another one. 200,000. It was deposited in the name of a certain person. So please be informed and be cautious. Always call me. They know my numbers. So we have invited Assistant Secretary of Finance, Antonio Lambino II, so that you can ask him questions regarding the spike on the excise tax as well as its suspension. May we call on Assistant Secretary Antonio Lambino? You can ask questions to him directly.
Salamat po, Secretary Panelo. Magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat. At ipinapahayag po ng economic managers ng Administrasyong Duterte ang kanilang taus-pusong suporta sa isang agarang pag-anunsyo ng temporary suspension ng pagtaas ng oil excise sa Enero taong 2019, alinsunod sa train law. Inirekomenda po itong early announcement upang maibsan ang inflationary pressure at mapabuti ang kalagayan ng pamilyang Pilipino. Matapos konsultahin ng Presidente ang liderato ng Senado at mababang kapulungan, idinadagdag ng economic managers ang kanilang suporta sa pagsuspindi ng second tranche ng oil excise upang maangkla ang inflation expectations at paigtingin ang maaksyon ng gobyerno laban sa hoarding at profiteering. Kasama sa disenyo ng train law ang mekanismo ng pagsuspindi ng pagtaas ng excise tax sa langis kapag umabot o humigit ang 3-month average price ng Dubai crude na nakabase sa Mean of Platts, Singapore sa $80 mula Oktubre hanggang Disyembre ngayong taon. Malinaw sa presyo ngayon at sa futures market na napakaliit ng posibilidad na hindi tayo lalagpas sa threshold na ito. At ito ang basihan ng suporta para sa agarang anunsyo ng gobyerno. Tuloy-tuloy naman ang mga aksyon ng Administrasyong Duterte para paramihin ang supply ng mga pangunahing produktong agrikultura at para bumaba ang presyo ng pagkain para sa ating mga mamamayan, sa ating mga pamilihan. Maraming salamat po.
MPC, you have any question? Ace Romero.
ASEC, you mentioned there's slim chance of the oil prices going below $80 per barrel. But in the event na mangyari yun, will you still implement the suspension next year?
Well, if it's, for instance, $1 below, hindi na natin kailangan pag-awayan yan masyado, hahanapan po natin ng paraan yan. But if it's $60, $20 below the threshold, which is close to impossible, ay pag-uusapan natin. Kaso mukhang malabo talaga na hindi tayo lalagpas doon sa threshold.
So ang allowance nyo, 79, mga ganon?
Mga ganon.
So mga ilan po talaga?
No, but let me reiterate, no. Based on the futures market, based on the price last week pa lang, based on our conversations with DOE na binabantayan po nila ito araw-araw, based on alam po natin na may demand na malaki galing sa mga malalamig na bansa kung saan may winter for additional oil kasi kailangan po nila ito sa kanilang heating requirement. based on the fact na mukhang magigiraan po ang Estados Unidos at saka ang Iran, based on the fact that Venezuela has not fixed its problems in terms of their economy, apektado po ang global supply ng oil, at base po sa nasabi po ng OPEC na mag-expand sila ng production pero hindi pa po nangyayari. Lahat po yon ay ikinonsidera po natin bago po naglabas po ng statement of support ang economic managers para sa agarang anunsyo ng pagsuspinde.
So ano po yung chance na hindi matutuloy itong suspension next
Napakaliit
year?
po.
Napakaliit because of the conditions you mentioned.
Opo.
Thank you, Asek.
MPC questions. Inan, Andulong.
Again, no, it's a recommendation from the economic managers, pero tulad po ng nasabi ni Secretary Panelo kahapon, inaantay na po natin yung official announcement from Malacanang.
Sir, this announcement might lead to certain expectations sa commuters or consuming public. Can you explain to us really the impact of a suspension? Because people might think that it's going to result in the lowering of prices when in fact it's just suspending what's supposed to be added pa. So I think the simple question is, will this lead to the lowering of prices?
Yung excise tax on oil ngayong taon, no, 2018, ay 2 pesos and 65 centavos para sa gasolina at 2 pesos and 50 centavos para sa diesel. Kung idagdag po natin ang VAT on the excise, yan po ay 2 pesos and 97 per liter para sa gasolina at 2 pesos and 80 centavos para sa diesel. Yan po ay mga 20 to 30% ng pagtaas ng presyo sa ating mga gasolinahan. So if we consider na ang diesel tumaas na mga 12 pesos per liter between December, which is pre-train, December 2017, and September 2018, yung 3 pesos po, more or less, ay galing po sa train. Yung 9 pesos, yan po ay galing sa pagtaas ng international oil price. Yung atin pong Dubai crude, yung atin pong oil imports. At nadagdagan po yan ng pag-depreciate ng peso laban sa dolyar, mas naging mahal pa po ang ating imports. So to answer the question directly, with that background, it will help in terms of the oil price kasi hindi na po tataas ng 2 piso. No? Kasi ang next tranche ay 2 pesos for gasoline, 2 pesos for diesel. At in addition, and maybe this is just as important, it will help anchor inflation expectations. Kaya po nasabi ko kanina na this will counter profiteering and hoarding. Hoarding both at the commercial and the household level. Kasi alam na po natin na pag nasa isip po ng taong bayan, natataas ang presyo, kung may pera ho sila, bibili sila ng marami, putting upward pressure on the prices, no? Dahil demand side push po yan. So ang gusto po natin mangyari ay maging mas kampante ang ating mga kababayan na we are doing all we can to lower upward pressure on prices. Para ho, it will lead to behaviors that will help us manage our economy in the best way possible.
Sir, last week, didn't you sort of say that suspending excise oil and tax really won't do much to lower inflation?
It won't do much in itself, but the inflationary expectations effect, the anchoring of those expectations, is also very important. Mahirap po i-quantify yan, even for economists. No? Pero alam po natin na malaking factor yan pagdating sa inflation.
MPC question. Rosa Licos.
Good morning. Sir, na-mention po nyo sa statement yun pong nung pong weekend yung 40 billion pesos revenue loss. Yun po bang mga mitigating measures ng pamahalaan sa mga mahirap na Pilipino, maaapektuhan din po ba yun kung sakaling ang matuloy yung suspension nung excise tax na dagdag?
There was more than 140 billion pesos na nakasama po sa budget ng 2018 para po sa mitigating measures. Yung galing po sa train itself ay 30% of incremental revenues, which is around 27 billion pesos. So yan po ay 2018. Ngayon, sa 2019, ang unang estimate po natin pagdating sa mitigating measures or social programs in general ay nasa mga more than 160 billion pesos. Ngayon, ang revenue impact ng suspension of the second tranche is around 40 billion tulad ng nasabi ninyo. Pero hindi pa po natin alam ang neto niyan, yung net effect, dahil kukwentahin pa po natin ang VAT at ang exchange rate, no? Yung mga epekto nun sa ating net position. Nagmi-meeting po ngayong araw na ito ang DBCC at pag-uusapan po nila kung saan po makukuha ang pagbaba ng ating revenues based on the net effect, no? Not just based on the nominal 40 billion. Ang priority po natin ay non-infrastructure expenditures pagdating po sa pagbawas ng gastos.
So in other words, maapektuhan din po in a way.
Mayroon pong maapektuhan, pero hindi pa po natin alam by how much. Ang alam lang po natin ay ang revenue estimate ng second tranche ay nasa 40 to mga 41 billion pesos. But again, no, because of the VAT na nakolekta natin dahil sa pagtaas ng presyo ng langis, ay may offsetting effect po yan pagdating sa net. So it's a bit early to be able to tell exactly kung magkano po. At saka magmi-meeting pa po ang DBCC based on their best assessment kung ano po yung non-infrastructure expenditures na kailangan din pong makapag-offset doon sa reduced revenues.
Deo?
Sir, follow-up po. Inamin niyo po na merong 40 billion na hindi kikitain. So makakatulong po ba yung iniutos ni Presidente na parang ani-import po ng bigas dahil magbabayad po sila ng additional na tariff sa government? So makakatulong po ba yun sa kita?
Makakatulong po yon sa overall financial capability ng gobyerno. Pero kailangan din ho natin na maibahagi na yung revenue na i-collect dun sa rice tarification, kung maisabatas na po ang bill na yan na napakahalaga po para sa atin. Bababa po ang presyo ng bigas from 2 to 7 pesos per kilo at bababa po yung inflation by next year, kung maipasa ho natin this year, according to BSP estimates, by around 0.7 percentage points, which will bring us back to within inflation range target. Pero ang lahat po ng makokolekta sa rice tariff ay naka-earmark para sa ating mga magsasaka. Yan po ay naka-earmark para sa mga programa na gagawing mas productive at mas competitive ang ating mga rice farmers. And that's not just in rice. Maari po silang mag-diversify dahil po maaring mas maganda ang livelihood ng isang farm kung diversified, lalo na po kung rain-fed at hindi po irrigated. At napakalaking tulong po niyan in terms of mechanization, access to credit, at marami pa pong ibang mga programa. Kasama na po ang better seeds, no? Mas malago na mga binhi. So lahat po yan ay naka-earmark para sa ating mga rice farmers.
Last week po, sir, sinabi niyo sa briefing dito, sa economic briefing, ang main drivers ng inflation was rice, vegetables, and meat.
And fish.
And fish. And in fact, yung rice po is 1% of the inflation rate nung September, September po ba, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, correct.
And then sinabi po naman kahapon ni Secretary Manny Piñol ng Department of Agriculture, sila po ay biktima rin tulad ng transport sector, biktima rin sila ng inflation na ang main driver naman na sinasabi niya is the increase of fuel price.
Mayroon pong contribution pareho. Pero kung titingnan po natin ang datos mula sa Philippine Statistics Authority, 2.8 percentage points of the 6.7% ay galing po dun sa apat na nabanggit ninyong produktong agrikultura. Rice, fish, vegetables, and meat. At ang ugat po niyan, ang pangunahing ugat ng pagtaas ng presyo ay supply issues. So mayroon maliit na contribution ang fuel costs pagdating sa production, pero ang pass-through po niyan based on our estimates ay mga 3 to 10%. So what we're looking at is for every 100 pesos na pagtaas ng presyo, 10 pesos ang maaring galing sa fuel, 25% of the 10 pesos ay galing sa fuel excise, 75% or 750 ay galing sa pagtaas ng presyo ng krudo sa pandaigdigang merkado. Yung 90 pesos, kailangan pa po natin i-account of the 100 kasi 10 lang yung accounted ng fuel. So yung 90 pesos po ng pagtaas ng presyo, ay yan po ay supply-driven. at talaga hong na-mismanage yung rice supply, hindi po yung supply, no, yung buffer stocking natin. Dahil po ang NFA ay hindi po nakapamili ng sapat na bigas galing sa ating mga local producers nung huling harvest season, at hindi rin po sila nakapag-import in time for the lean months. At dahil po nangyari yun, late na rin po ang dating ng imports at natamaan ng typhoon season, so na-delay din po ang unloading. Which means talagang nagka-problema tayo sa management ng rice buffer stock. But there was never a shortage of rice. The problem is, pag natunugan ho kasi ng mga merkado na may ganong issue, ay nagtaasan ho sila ng presyo. That's why we're doing everything we can para paramihin ang supply to flood the market with cheaper alternatives para ho bumaba ang presyo, especially ng bigas. Pero yan po ay short term. Ang kailangan ho natin gawing long term ay i-tarify na po talaga ang rice import regime natin. Pagdating sa isda, meron ho talagang shortage sa ating fish stock. Talagang bumaba po yung fish stock natin due to overfishing, due to climate change, and due to ampong, among other factors. At yan po ay kailangan ho nating solusyonan in the short term. Kasama po yan sa AO13 na pinirmahan ni Presidente at ang mga memorandum orders na ginagawang mas simple ang pamamaraan ng ating pag-import ng isda para diretso na po sa markets instead of kung ano po yung nangyayari noon pag nag-i-import po tayo ng isda, that was for processing and manufacturing. At saka pagdating naman po sa meat and vegetables, kasama na rin po yan sa mga intervention ng DTI, tinutulungan po ng DA, para makabenta po ang ating producers directly to consumers.
Sir, sa madaling sabi po, yung pong mga interventions na ginawa ng government came just September and this month. So sa madaling sabi po, nagkaroon talaga ng malaking mismanagement sa DA from January until in the later months?
Hindi lang po since January, matagal na po ang mga issues pagdating sa agricultural productivity. But if you look at the GDP growth numbers, talagang medyo anemic yung performance ng agricultural productivity, no? Less than 1.5% ang growth ng agricultural sector. Kaya kailangan po talaga natin mag-invest in the right way pagdating sa agricultural productivity ng Pilipinas.
So since 2016 po, nagkaroon na ng mismanagement sa DA?
Actually, even before that po, ang mga investments po natin pagdating sa agriculture ay alam po yan ng mga eksperto, no? Those who know the agriculture sector very well. We have not been making the necessary investments in farm-to-market roads, in cold storage facilities, in post-harvest facilities, in irrigation where it's needed, at kung ano-ano pa. Kaya even mechanization and other technologies that are available. So these issues really need to be addressed. And AO13 and the memorandum orders that were issued help in the short term pagdating sa pagpaparami ng supply. But over time, we need to also improve the productivity of our agriculture sector.
Thank you, sir.
MBC questions?
Sec, ang hinihiling naman po ng iba, no, like particularly si Senator Grace po, sabi niya yung second tranche, okay i-hold, pero dapat daw i-hold na rin yung current excise tax sa oil. Ano pong take doon ninyo?
Yung current excise tax na inumpisahang i-implement ngayong taon ay wala pong provision ang batas para i-roll back. So that will need congressional action.
Ace Romero?
Asek, you mentioned sa expenditure side para makabawi dun sa foregone revenues, baka maapektuhan yung non-infrastructure, di ba? Sa revenue side, what do we intend to do para mabawi yung foregone revenues?
Titingnan po natin ang net effect tulad ng nasabi ko kanina. Dahil po, while the foregone revenues will be 40 to 41 billion, yan po yung estimate, meron naman ho tayong additional VAT revenues dahil po sa pagtaas ng presyo. So titingnan pa po natin kung ano yung neto. But at the same time, hindi po natin balak lakihan ang deficit target natin. So we will maintain our deficit target. If I'm not mistaken, it's 3.2% for 2019, which means may mga kailangan pong bawasan na expenditures, non-infra expenditures.
Kasi infra para sa growth kasi yun, di ba?
Those are the, huling-huli na po kasi tayo sa investment natin sa infra. Ngayon lang po tayo umabot sa target level natin na mga 5% of GDP. So lumagpas po tayo dyan at we intend to maintain our investment level in infrastructure kasi yan po ay para sa kapakanan ng lahat. Ang kailangan ho natin gawin ay hanapan ang mga non-infra expenditures kung saan po pwedeng bawasan for next year.
So kung non-infra, baka social services yan.
Kailangan pa po mag-usap ang DBCC and they are meeting today. Antayin na lang po natin yung outcome ng usapan nila.
But is there an assurance na hindi maapektuhan yung social services? Kasi importante din yun eh.
Kailangan ho natin antayin yung outcome ng usapan nila. Actually, they are meeting right now as we speak.
Thank you, Asik.
This morning. They will be announcing a few things that they agreed. This afternoon, meron pong press conference at I think scheduled for 1 o'clock.
Raymond Tenasa.
Good morning, Asik. Good noon. Sir, di ba projection lang yung possible na suspension of the excise tax by next year pa lang? Di ba? Next year pa lang expected possible suspension of the excise tax.
Ina-anunsyo po na based on all the data that we've looked at saka yung futures market, at saka yung global conditions around oil production, ay malabo hong hindi ho tayo above the threshold for the suspension. Kaya po, we're doing this para ma-anchor na po ang inflation expectations coming into the new year because that's very important for the well-being of the Filipino family.
Exactly point I am trying to arrive at, Asik, na bakit as this early in-announce niya kasi baka it could be a political move or it could help ease the inflation or the speculation.
Ang mahalaga po talaga ay ma-anchor ang inflation expectations tulad ng nasabi ninyo, speculation. Kasi po ang nangyayari pag akala ng isang negosyante or even a household na magtataasan ng presyo ay kung may pera sila na pwedeng gastusin, medyo bumibili ho sila ng marami, which means may upward pressure sa presyo and it's not a good thing, no? Kasi kung sapat naman ang supply ng goods ay dapat talaga tama lang ang consumption para hindi masyadong magkaroon ng upward pressure on prices on the demand side. So we are anchoring that, but at the same time, ine-implement na po yung mga nasa AO13 at sa ibang mga memorandum orders na na-issue ng Malacanang para paramihin ang supply ngayon pa lang. So that's for January and to anchor expectations between now and coming into 2019. But at the same time, on the supply side, marami na pong interventions na ginagawa para ipababa ang presyo ngayon at hindi lang po sa susunod na taon.
Thank you, sir.
Chopel.
Sir, good morning. Balikan ko lang sir yung sinabi nyo kanina regarding sa shortage ng supply ng pagkain. 2016 pa po, kulang yung pagkain natin. Sa tingin nyo may kakulangan dun sa pamumuno sa DA?
Hindi ko po alam yung datos pagdating sa kung kulang o hindi noong 2016 ang pagkain. Ang alam ko pagdating sa rice, no, ay there was enough supply. Kaso, nag-anunsyo ang NFA sa isang public hearing na 2 araw na lang yung buffer stock nila. That was early this year. It was at that point na biglang nagtaasan ang presyo sa mga merkado dahil nagkaroon ng false impression na kulang. But actually, sapat ang supply in the commercial rice sector. So it was an unfortunate incident that led to actually a lot of pain. Marami hong nagutom dahil dyan. Kaya kailangan na ho natin solusyonan yan talaga once and for all. We should have learned our lesson by now. Every time there is a rice price spike, ay nagkakaproblema rin po tayo sa inflation numbers natin. Kailangan ho natin talaga solusyonan na ito once and for all. Which is why the rice tariffication bill is so important. At nasa advanced stage na po yan ng legislative process sa Senado ay matatapos na po yata, no? Ongoing, pero matatapos na ang period of amendments, which means pwede na hong bumoto in plenary ang Senado at sinertify ho ni Presidente Duterte ang bill na ito as urgent. In the same way that he certified the House bill as urgent. So ginagawa na po ang lahat para maipasa ito in a way that will really make a difference for the Filipino family.
Okay, last na tayo kay Ina. Ina Andolong.
Sir, just a quick one. Sir, I'm really not sure about this, but are revenues from excise tax sa oil supposed to be used for a specific purpose only? If so, what are these programs or projects na mawawalan ng pondo because of the lost revenues?
For a few years, I believe it's a limited amount of time. No? I'll check the actual number of years in the law, but not forever, but for a few years, the incremental revenues from the excise taxes on oil, on sugary beverages and tobacco, primarily, are earmarked for 70% of it is earmarked for infrastructure and 30% earmarked for social programs, which means around 63 billion pesos in 2018 for infrastructure. And by the way, the heightened and the increased expenditure in infrastructure has led to around 15 billion a month in new wages in the construction and construction-related jobs. No? Yan po ay 50 billion a month ang gastos natin sa infrastructure ngayon. So 15% of that is around 30% of that is around 15 billion pesos a month. And again, that's a lot of jobs in the construction and the construction-related employment areas. Yung 30% po na naka-earmark for social programs and social mitigating measures, yan po ay ang unconditional cash transfers and pantawid pasada primarily. Unfortunately, medyo bumaba po kasi ang revenue estimate coming from between the original version that was submitted to Congress and the one that was passed. So between the UCT and the Pantawid Pasada, we're very close to the 27 billion incremental revenue, the 30% of the incremental revenue, which is around 27 billion. Halos nandun na po tayo. Actually, lagpas na po in terms of our expenditures in social mitigating measures and social protection programs.
Okay, Alvin, may tanong ka ba? Okay. Okay, thank you. No more questions? Okay, thank you, Assistant Secretary Tony Lambino, Presidential Spokesperson Panelo.
Thank you, Asek, Tony. Let me give you some clarification. There is no appointment yet to replace former SAP Christopher Bongo. The President is yet to choose whom he will appoint. Any question?
Question? Follow-up muna. Sige, Tina.
Sir, how about yung PMS, sir? May magkakaroon ba ng bagong head yung PMS, which was a concurrent position held by Secretary Bongo?
Hindi ko pa alam. Wala pang sinasabi. We'll wait for the announcement.
Ian?
Attorney, Secretary, meron pong lumalabas na isang abogado daw na babae, Attorney Aldevera, ang papalit kay SAP. Totoo po ba?
Baka isa siya sa pinagpipilian. Baka lang. Hindi ko alam actually. Naririnig ko rin, pero walang announcement si Presidente.
Nestor.
Secretary, so when is the President planning to announce the names of those who will replace the cabinet secretaries who filed their COCs? Because just this morning, Cabinet Secretary Evasco said that he already resigned and filed his COC as Bohol Governor. So these are key positions in the Duterte cabinet. So when will the President plan to announce the replacements?
Anytime soon.
How soon, sir?
How soon? Anytime soon. I'm sure. But even if there is no appointment yet, there are OICs in the departments.
Question, MPC? Ina?
You said anytime soon, sir. Does this mean that yung nabanggit niya, I think 6 CAB6 na aalis nga dahil tatakbo, have already been, replacements have already been chosen for all of them?
Not replacements, because there is no announcement yet, but there are OICs. Hindi ko lang alam kung sino ang OIC doon.
OIC meaning, usually, sir, diba, they're from within those agencies?
Most likely, yes.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Henry?
Secretary, anong reaksyon ng palasyo doon sa sinasabi na ang Commission on Election ay masyadong pinaburan si Sap Bongo at si Presidente at ang mga miyembro ng gabinete na nagtungo kahapon sa COMELEC nung mag-file si Sap ng COC?
Hindi naman pinaburan. Siguro nangyari doon, hindi nila akalain darating ang presidente. Kaya yung security nila, nagulat. Kasi yung nagpunta naman doon, si presidente, saka 3 cabinet members. So, pasok doon sa 4 Ang problema, maraming sumama. Dahil nga hindi nila anticipate yun, natural, talagang mahirapan sila.
Na kanino ho kaya ang pagkakamali? Sa side ng supporter o sa side ng COMELEC?
Siguro sa side ng COMELEC, they should have anticipated. Kasi, sa bagay, you can also blame them. Ang problema nga, biglang dumating ang presidente. So, I think, you cannot blame any side. Nagkataon lang. But it doesn't mean na pinaburan si Bongo.
Alright, thank you, sir.
MPC, may questions? Ian?
Sir, baka po may impormasyon na ang palasyo. No? Sinasabi po na may significant volume ng aggregates na ginamit daw sa reclamation.
Volume ng ano?
Aggregates po, yung mga sand or na ginamit doon sa reclamation doon sa West Philippine Sea ay galing daw sa Albay, particularly doon sa foot ng Mount Mayon.
Wala pa akong-
Sorry, Mount Apo.
I have no information on that yet.
Okay, no more questions. Roy says?
Hi, good afternoon po, Secretary. Kunin lang namin yung reaction ng Malacanang. Sabi po kasi ni Joma Sison sa interview niya with Dante Ang, yung security cluster daw po ni Pangulong Duterte ang dahilan kung bakit hindi natuloy yung peace talks. In effect, pinigilan daw po kasi nila Secretary Lorenzana. Can you also confirm this?
Hindi. Kaya napigilan yun dahil di sila sumusunod sa usapan Supposed to be walang barilan, walang patayan, walang ambush. Nilabag nila yun kung ikaw nga sa posisyon ni Presidente, bakit ka naman makikipag-usap? Mukhang hindi ka naman matapat sa layunin.
Questions, MPC? Tina?
Sir, para lang hindi magkabiglaan. Sir, sa mga candidates ba o pagdating ng kampanya, anong plano ng Pangulo, sir? Sasama sa lahat ng mga major events ng mga administration candidates o pa-isa-isa lang?
Wala siyang sinabi. But based on previous experiences, hindi ba ang presidente nung mga nakaraan sumasama sa mga major rallies. Hindi ko lang alam kung ganun din ang gagawin ni presidente. But definitely, in-endorse niya na si Bongo at saka yung mga ibang kandidatong tatakbo sa ilalim ng partido ng administrasyon o ng PDP Laban at Hugpong rather.
Sir, isa pa lang, magkakaroon po ba ng coalition, administration coalition for the senatorial candidates?
Hindi ko alam. Pero ang alam ko, yung PDP Laban at regional, yung Hukbong, nagkaroon sila ng mga coalition sa mga regions.
How about dun sa mga tatakbong incumbent, sir?
Yeah, hindi
Incumbent
ko pa alam
senators.
yun.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, Catherine?
Sir, follow-up lang dun kay Mr. Joma Sison. Bali, sir, is the government still open po to resume talks with the NPA, with the Communist Rebels, sir? Open pa rin po ba ang government?
Sa ngayon, hindi. Dahil nga hindi nila tinutupad yung mga napag-usapan nung nakaraan. But definitely, the President always, his mind is always open to reconciliation. As he said, hindi pa pwedeng tayo mga Pilipino nagpapatayan.
May update po kayo, sir, regarding the localized peace talks. Kung may EO na ba na napirmahan si President Duterte?
Wala pang sinasabi sa akin si Iyas.
Comment na lang, sir, doon din po sa sinabi ni Mr. Sison. He's admitting po that the communist does not have the ability to topple the Duterte government. Dahil daw kailangan daw po ng big movement from the public big public movement with the support of the military. But he's denying po that they are conniving with the LP, Trillanes, and the other military members.
Did I get you right? He said that the Communist Party does not have the capability?
Yes, sir, for now.
For now?
Yes.
Okay,
What's
ever
the...
since-
Okay, sir.
Well, that's why they've been trying to get allies from other sectors.
What
But
sectors?
they have not so far been successful for the last 50 years.
Okay, mag-last question na tayo. Joyce?
Sir, dinrop na ng Defense Department yung Red October but they said that baka may White Christmas naman. So is this information, did it also come from the intelligence information ng Pangulo?
And most likely, but hindi naman ako magtataka na palaging merong plot. Because that is precisely the rationale of the creation of the Communist Party of the Philippines, to oust the present government. So, katakataka kung hindi sila nagpaplano ng ouster move every day. 50 years na nilang pinaplano, pero so far, nabibigo naman sila.
So,
Anyway, yes.
Sir, sa side na Malacanang, do you categorically say na meron talaga nabubuo na forthcoming this December?
Yan ang sabi ng AFP, and they have the resources, the intelligence to validate what they're saying.
Galing po ba to sa information na nakukuha personal ni Pangulo?
I said, that's what the AFP said. And I am not surprised na merong ganyan.
Okay,
Oh,
thank
teka
you.
muna, bago tayo magtapos, I would like to express our condolences, sincerest condolences to FL Hanilet Avancenia for the demise of her father, Vicente Avancenia. Alam niyo ba yun, na namatay? Also, nakikiramay din kami sa mother ni Andrew Tan. Namatay din. And also the wife of the founder of Unilab, Beatrice Campos.
Our condolences po. Rosa Licos?
Isaac, pahabol lang po. Kahapon po na-mention ni President Duterte sa speech niya sa Philippine Army turnover ceremony na walang pondo ng pamahalaan na gagamitin sa electioneering, especially ng mga kaalyado po ng Duterte administration. Pero in the past, meron ng ginawang endorsement si Pangulo sa mga public speeches niya. Hindi po ba natin, can we regard yung pong mga ganong instances sa hinaharap na paggamit din po ng government resources?
Hindi naman. Ang patungkol yata yan kay Bongo na baka daw gamitin ng resource ng gobyerno dahil si Presidente, sinamahan pa siya. But you must remember that the President, as a citizen of this country, has the right to endorse and to make a choice kung sino tutulungan niya. Pero definitely, walang gastos na manggagaling sa gobyerno. Unang-una, yung mga tumulong kay Presidente, nag-alok ng tulong kay Christopher Bongo. Sapagkat naniniwala sila sa talent ni Bongo. At naniniwala sila na makakatulong ang kanyang pagiging senador sa ating bayan. Kaya, lahat sila, if you notice yung mga lumalabas na mga, kung ano-anong lumalabas, galing yun sa mga supporters.
Pero sir, yung paggamit po ng Pangulo ng mga government media platform, for example, mag-endorse po siya ng mga candidates for 2019 midterm elections gamit po ang RTVM and other...
Hindi naman, because in the course of the speech naman yan, wala naman yun. Lahat ng presidente, ganyan din ang ginawa nun.
Sir, thank you, sir.
Ang masama, if you will be spending money yung talagang galing sa gobyerno.
More of financial, sir.
Oo.
So, question from Pia Ranyada. for spokes daw, but as a government official, was not Bongo aware of the limit of 4 companions per candidate? Doesn't this run counter to PRD's stance that his alter egos should not expect special
O hindi
treatment?
ba 4 nga yung kasama niya? 3 cabinet members, saka si Presidente, di 4. Eh yung mga iba, mga sumunod na bigla. Hindi naman ano yun eh. I was not surprised. Sabi ko nga we have a rockstar president. Wherever he goes, pinagkakaguluhan siya. Hindi mo makontrol ang tao. Kahit yung mga PSG, nasasagi, nasasaktan eh.
Okay, last question na tayo. No more? Henry.
So Secretary, hindi inimbita ho ng Secretary Sal, hindi inimbita ni SAP, hindi rin inimbita ng Pangulo yung mga ibang mga dumalo, kusang loob yung
Ay, hindi,
nagpuntahan.
puro kusang loob yun. Lahat yung kusang loob. Napalitan lang nila, nagtakbuhan doon.
For the
Ano ba
record,
naman ang
sino
balita?
lang ho yung inimbita ng Malacanang nasamahan si SAP? For the record, sino
Ang
lang po
inimbita
yung...
hindi, ang tingin ko nga walang, kasi ako, hindi man ako inimbita ni Bongo. I mean, lahat kami nalaman na lang namin. I wanted to go with him, except that meron naman akong isang event, kaya hindi ako makapunta. Ang alam ko lang na nandun, di ba si ES, Midaldea, nandun si Martin. Sino pa yung isa? Sino? Tiron? Sino Tiron? Si June. Secretary June. Silang 3. Palagay ko, nung malaman nila, di sumama na rin sila. Suporta yun eh. Kung free ako pumunta rin ako.
Okay, no more question? No more?
Thank you, Secretary. Salamat.
Okay, no more questions? Okay. Vance Fernandez, last question. Final.
Vance.
Hi, sir.
Ang ganda
Sir,
ng damit mo, pink. You're in love.
Sir, rugged naman kayo eh. Anyway, sir, my question is, hindi ba aware ang presidente na alam niya na magre-resign to mga cabinet members niya at tatakbo sa sa pagka-senador yung iba nito at ibang mambabatas din, hindi siya aware na dapat nilagyan niya na agad ng mga itinalagang sa mga posisyon na yon?
Hindi naman dahil kahit ako nga, mga kasama
Kasi
ko na.
nababakanti, sir.
Hindi naman mababakante dahil as I said earlier, may mga OIC naman. Hindi mababakante. Continuous mo naman ang serbisyo ng gobyerno.
Kasi until now, wala pa silang inilalagay
Meron ngang mga OIC.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
thank you,
sir.
Vance. Thank you, Presidential Spokesperson Salvador Panelo.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Malacanang Press Corps. Back to our main studio sa Radyo Pilipinas and People's Television Network.